Okay, so this is part 2 of the video with the Husqvarna stitch selector module reassembly. So one thing I learnt the hard way with these things is there are a few of the components, when they're reassembled, it's imperative that they are timed correctly. So just like an engine where you've got a crankshaft and camshafts running off the same power source and they are spinning at they've got a direct relationship with each other that has to be exact, otherwise not only will the machine not function correctly, but it'll probably get damaged. These sewing machines are like that in many different aspects, and I've stumbled across one of them here with these stitch selector units. So hopefully I can help people avoid coming across this problem with reassembly, because I did. I didn't realise until I messed it up a couple of times. So this is the main housing that's got a lot of the shafts on it and stuff like that everything is assembled in and around. And there are 3 or 4 actually geared components that work in relationship with each other inside that unit. Now, one of them, this one here, takes part of this is actually the shaft that the knob attaches to eventually. This doesn't have any timing marks on it, so this one's the assembly is a little bit easier with regards to this one. These 3 components need to be put in a certain way with relation to each other and the housing in order for things to work properly. If they don't, if they are one tooth out, it will not work correctly and you'll have to pull the thing out of the machine again. So obviously if this was going into a machine, I would be lubricating everything appropriately on assembly, and we'll assume that has been done. Also, yes, there are broken parts going into this because it's not going into a machine. This is for demonstration purposes only. So first component that needs to go in here, I'm just going to call this the base gear. As you can see, I'm going to point out now the important part of these components. With this gear, you can see there's a little dot right here that's actually cast into the part. This is a timing mark, okay? There is also a timing mark on this component, and you can see it on this one. It's in the form of a rectangular indentation that's in the casting. I've seen them different though. I've seen them in the same place, but instead of a rectangular dot, there's actually a section missing out of this webbing, but it'll be obvious. There will be an obvious mark in a particular part of the component that is a timing mark. And also on the housing, if you look down in here, you will see this mark right here, okay? That's the timing mark on the housing. Now, conveniently, it is smack bang in line with this post, okay? This post is what this component will go onto. So even though you can't see that timing mark once we start assembling the piece, we know where it is because it's smack bang radially in line with this post, okay? So that's important to note. The way it works is everything has to go in. Those marks need to line up, the timing marks need to line up, and things need to be put back together in a certain order, otherwise it won't work. So we'll just start off, I guess. We'll drop this first piece in, okay? It just goes in, simple as that, and then rotate this around so that timing mark, I rotate it around so the timing mark is absolutely smack bang in line with the timing mark underneath it, which is also conveniently in line with this post, okay? So that's the first step. The next thing to go in is this little L-shaped lever, okay? It slides in over the top of this and just sits there like that, okay? So that's the second piece. The third piece to go in is this. It's like a detent eventually it's spring loaded, and it's the detent roller. So this is what gives you those tactile clicks on the knob if everything's assembled correctly. Okay, so this is the next thing to go in. Over the course of assembly, keep coming back and checking that your timing marks are right, because it's very easy to just move them a bit. And as I said earlier, they've only got to be one tooth out and you'll be pulling the thing out of the machine again. So keep coming back and checking those timing marks, okay? So this comes in, that fork sits over that webbing in the casting. It just comes in over the top like that. Nice and simple. Use your thumb to hold it down, and then use a little screwdriver to line up these parts so the screws will go in. Don't be in a rush. If you're in a rush, it'll take you 10 times as long. It's funny like that. So that little flat spring that holds that roller on once everything's assembled, as you can see, that flat spring there comes in quite a bit over the top of the roller, and it actually sits over that the little axle as well. Okay, line these holes up a little bit with your little screwdriver so that you can get the screw started without too much trouble. There's a little stepped screw that goes in. Get that started, and we'll just snug that down. We won't tighten it yet. We'll just make sure everything's lined up correctly. Make sure it slides. As you can see, that slides nice and freely. Spring's in the correct place. Everything looks all right. So then we'll just nip that up. Doesn't have to be super tight. Don't strip those threads. It's only die cast aluminium. You will strip them if you get too ham-fisted with them. Now, as you can see, those timing marks are out. That's how easy it is to get them out of alignment. So keep coming back. Line that dot up. Line that dot up with the post, looking at it from above. If you draw a line through the center of the main hole in the center, through that timing mark, and then that same line should come down straight through the center of this post. Okay, so keep coming back, referring to that and sorting it out if it moves. Okay, now the next piece I believe to come in is this section here with that's the main shaft that the knob goes onto. Now you'll see there's two little scallops in that, and those scallops are what that little roller detent goes into to give you those tactile clicks. So all we need to do, that comes down into the middle, slide it down, draw back this detent, drop that down, and then slide the roller detent forward so it locates itself into one of those scallops, and that's it. Now once again, go back and sneak a little peek in underneath here. You can see that timing mark, and it's still in line with that post, so we're still gravy. Okay, so far so good. Don't forget, everything will be getting lubricated as we're going along. Okay, so the next thing to go on is another timed piece of equipment, which is this, I'm going to call it like a reduction gear. Now you can see the timing mark on it, that little rectangular timing mark, so it needs to sit straight up on top of the timing mark on that bottom gear. Now we can't see it anymore because it's covered, but we know where it is. We know that the timing mark on that bottom gear lines up exactly with that tooth. You can see there's one of the teeth on that gear that the timing mark lines up with. Okay, so that tooth needs to sit see how the timing mark on this one correlates to a gap. That gap is where the tooth of that lower gear needs to slip into, okay? So we come in carefully, make sure everything's still lined up. Yep. And we come in carefully over the top, and we come in, and that should sit snug, bang, like that. Now we should be able to draw a straight line through the middle of that main shaft and the middle of that reduction gear shaft, and as you can see, that timing mark should be smack bang in line with it. Okay? Just like that. Alright, I'm going to stop this video and then start a new one so that the videos aren't too long. And it'll make it a lot easier for people to be able to go back and review things if they want to check it out. Alright.